office, more licenses, more certificates. I love my wife and children. I think it's sad what has happened. I think it's sad that my children are with someone in the frame of mind that they're in to do this. I don't know if my mom told you, we didn't feel like bogging it down upon request that I could provide a history of violence from her, from St. Joseph's Hospital in New Hampshire, me being hospitalized from her, and the doctors even put notes in it from her slicing with a knife, 3 different car accident reports from her substance abuse, crashing with the cars. I tried to help her. That's what I do. If you ask my friend here, Gerald Botta, has a very good record, very reputable person, and highly educated. I help people. I make quite an impression on the people I help. I always have. And I was trying to help her out. You know, I loved her very much after 13 years. And so I tried to stick through with the substance abuse, even though everybody spoke out against it. I tried to stick through the car accidents and the ambulance to the hospital from it. Through the child abuse, I tried to stick through it. There's hospital records of her cracking in front of a witness, my daughter's skull open with a rake. You know, I did the wrong thing. But it's sad my kids are now in that person's custody. They're now hiding out from being served paperwork for all their bank fraud from the banks, unlisted, based on a lie done by Matthew Sear. A lie that they actually did not commit to. You know, that lie is, I held that man up in my hallway, contrary to the witnesses, contrary to mechanical facts, contrary to science, with a SKS and loaded a single round in it and had a conversation with him.
Let me ask you, why didn't you, when you were charged, put on a defense, like try to go to trial and win and show all this evidence?
With my attorney, well, one thing, as you know, when you're in prison, how do you get evidence? My family, my house was locked up. How do I get it?
So what you're saying is like you had to, it was once you got out that you started figuring these
Actually,
things out?
no. I'm going to hook you up with some more numbers of some more people that have dealt with these people.
Okay.
They're called the Volunteers of Hancock County. And utilizing skills through them in their classes, I, from jail, the only person ever that they've saw, and that's why I'm now a member of them as well, accumulated all this evidence.
Okay,
by writing letters, typing them during computer class, sending them to the companies, using my commissary for stamps, I did that.
Okay. So I guess what I'm saying is, why didn't you try to put together a defense and have a trial?
Because the jury pool was polluted.
Okay.
From me being in the media once a week. My court-appointed attorneys were selling me down the pike, so to speak, and they do it to everybody. They weren't just choosing me, particularly. It's what they do. The DA particularly wanted me this because for what I've done to him in the past, Michael Povich. And if you look, when you meet these people, if you read how they're connected through my story, you got police officers, best friends with former victims after the district attorney, friends with these attorneys, friends with the probation officer. This is a little community, a little dark community in Hancock County of who knows who. And if you have something that they want and they know each other, they're going to do what they can to manipulate the judicial system and they're going to take it from you. It helps them out, especially if you have a criminal record. But if you don't, I think I'm the first person they'll actually make one for you. I mean, I think my house speaks loudly. When you see the photographs and stuff, look at my house. I didn't even have a refrigerator. I mean, who from a mile away from the police department could steal a chimney in broad daylight off a house? And landscaping bushes and a mailbox. And did you know that several of the police officers and fire people actually live around my house?
No, I didn't know that.
They do. Sean Geegan was down on Millville around the corner. Tammy Denning was by the baseball field on the right with Michael Denning. And they run the fire department and stuff. And Sam Payson, my probation officer's wife, works with them. He's also in the fire department. David Winchester lives around the corner on Millville, off of Millville, by my house. And it's very sad that I have to pay for these people's corruption. And that my children have to pay on a daily basis for these people, on my corruption. The picture on their fridge shows my 4 children and my wife before this happened. Those are the people who are the actual victims of what has gone on. My wife and I work different shifts.
Right here, this
Yes,
is you guys?
that's right before. That's right at Christmas time. This happened February 3rd.
So you've lost a lot of weight since then, huh?
Yes.
Oh wow. No.
But I mean, if you look, my 4 kids, we worked different shifts. We worked at Blue Hill Hospital. We both had awards. We knew everybody at DHS, WHCA. We were friends with these people before this happened. My kids, my wife worked first shift, I worked third. I raised them, watched them.
What did your wife do for work back then?
She has an issue staying with the same job. She worked in the cafeteria. And then when that got too monotonous for her, she had to go to weekends and work as the receptionist at Blue Hill Hospital. My wife is a very sanguine, beautiful woman. You would think she was the nicest woman for a very short time. She's not very smart. She'd keep a facade on of how pure and great she is. If you look at her history, though, and get to know her, she, like I said, she can't maintain it.
Okay.
It's for a very short, limited time. 13 years, because Matthew Sear had to see my wife. My wife is one of 6. Do you know how sad that is to hear from someone at a church you go to get help? Oh, Matthew Sear, yeah, you're one of 6 people. I mean, that's... And yet he's allowed to do this.
Okay.
It's very sad. But they are the true victims of what has gone on, and they still are. I haven't seen my children in over 2 years.
So you're not allowed to see them at all?
I am allowed to see them, but I refuse because it's been a complete reversal of roles to have, what is that called? Supervised visits. I refuse to live this way. I love my wife. I don't want to take her to court. I would like to pray after 13 years, since I never did nothing wrong, when my wife would come to her senses, my ex-wife would come to her senses and do the right thing. I would like to see that she told the truth, that I never held up that cop. I would like to see her do it again. I would like my honor back and to get on with my life.
Okay.
I can't have no closure. I have a felony on my record now. Every job I've ever had, I've had clearance, so therefore I had to have a good record. I had background checks. I have passed.
What were some of the jobs you did where you had like the government clearance?
I worked at Lockheed Martin, and I worked for the Department of Defense.
What'd you do there?
I was a clean room technician. Then I worked at Digital. I worked for a temp agency called Tech Aid, and I worked in the clean room there that required clearance, doing laptop repair. I worked at Hewlett Packard before those in 1993 for a company called Commercial Constructors, hired by Hewlett Packard with clearance. I've always worked. That was in 93. I then worked for Nashua City Schools for the union, which included fingerprinting and background checks. I then worked for Harbor Homes as the maintenance supervisor, which ran all the state HUD and Section 8 New Hampshire housing programs. Tons of awards from them. Tons of background checks. Orkin, because I got laid off, I was hourly paid. I had to go through several background checks, driving checks, and all those jobs included tons of drug tests. Orkin, because I got laid off, I had to take a drug test every several months. Never had a problem because I don't have a substance abuse problem. Never had a history. In Texas, I don't know if you've ever been down south. Every job you apply for, you take a drug test. The job market's bleak. I worked as a conveyor mechanic at Alliance Air Force Base for a company called Link. And, I mean, I had to work with law enforcement, dogs, everything as a conveyor mechanic at the Air Force Base, especially after 9/11. I mean, every job, you name it. FedEx Ground, I usually work 2 jobs. I work FedEx Ground as part-time in the evenings. I worked full-time at Blue Hill Hospital. When I worked at Lockheed Martin, I worked at an electronic repair store, and I've always worked. I was a workaholic for my family, and that's what I do. Some people are addicted to things. I'm addicted to work. And like right now, I work full-time at Home Co-op at the nonprofit. I work with the volunteers. They're so impressed with my work. They usually eat a daily basis in my story. I had one email from someone from Wolf claiming I'm their hero after reading my story. And I also own a business that I do foreclosed homes, which business is good through Bank of America and Wells Fargo.
Tell me about that business.
That business is awesome, and what it is foreclosed homes, they have to be locked, secured, winterized, landscaped.
Yeah.
They contact me.
Okay.
And I go do that.
Okay.
So I work a lot.
What I'd like to do now is go through the list that I had and make sure we've covered everything because obviously if there's something I can always call you if I've got a follow-up question. I hope.
And I have your fax number, fax you the witness list tonight.
That's the one you asked about, your psychological examination from Elizabeth. Is that okay?
Yeah. Oh, she's a great one. You contact her too, because they were trying to claim that I was mentally ill after 32, and she'll